goes, and that just doesn't work.
I'm not streaming this shit. Please stop.
I was like, whoa, back chat. We don't want you on our platform anymore. What?
You have been demonetized.
It'd help if we were monetized to start with.
No, we mean fully demonetized, that we don't even show adverts on your stuff and us just take the money.
Wow. Damn. That is a new level of get fucked.
Yeah.
Look, we really don't want you here. Be gone.
Yeah. We're not gonna fire you. We're just gonna make you resign. The new method of Google.
It's beautiful.
They call those YouTube updates to the service agreement. Oh yeah, sorry. Good day, everybody. I'm Suffolk Graham.
Guys, yes.
Welcome to episode 198 of the Rand Nerds podcast.
Are we sure it's 98? Have you mislabeled? We good?
No.
We fixed that now?
No. I'm mostly sure this is correct.
Mostly sure.
Yeah. No, I'm fairly confident.
Are we just gonna we're gonna be we could do the really simple way of checking, but instead we're gonna go through the entire backlog and
Well, let me check the episode list. Oh yeah, no, we are 198.
fantastic. Okay. Will the files come through right?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be fine.
In fairness, mate, I don't even number mine until I actually listen to the episode. So
Fucking hell. Yeah. Yours is just called Skazz Audio every single time, is it?
mate, it's just a date. It's just a date. I'm like, what is this for?
Yeah.
And yours is like, oh yeah, mate, RAM Audio 198, and I'm like, huh, what does this go to?
No, interesting about it. We seem to be on average, we're getting about 15 views per episode.
What?
I know. That's a fairly consistent average, so we've got listeners.
To all the people who are clinically insane, hi.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Hi.
One of our listeners, anyway. I think that's when we've obviously become part of Anchor as well. So these people who've actually listened through the backlog. Bloody hell!
Oh, fucking you poor bastards! I am so sorry.
Yeah, I'm working my way down to episode 1 because that'll be the real tell. Interesting though, it looks like people skipped the earlier episodes. Probably for the best.
No, mate, they were fucking great. First off, we were talking about VR. Secondly, I didn't swear as much. Thirdly, bad.
Episode 1 has had 18 plays.
Oh, there you go. I'll take that.
Yeah.
It's a debut. It was wank.
Yeah.
Was that the Rift episode?
That is no. We didn't discuss the. We did discuss the Rift, but we actually discussed the Omni. I think on that episode.
Oh, there you go.
But I think that was all pre. That was pre VR being a thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was a thing, but it wasn't even launched yet. So we discussed that. That was, and I forgot, Skazz. That is our. I completely forgot. It's actually our 9-year anniversary.
Bloody hell!
Yeah. 9 years.
We've been doing this too long. We've been going 9 years and haven't had a single sponsorship.
It's good, isn't it?
Oh, we are so good. This is dedication. Like most people give up after like 5 episodes. I haven't had a Manscaped sponsorship.
We are the proper hipster podcast.
Oh, damn right.
Because everybody's going to go, well, I listen to Rare Nerds. You wouldn't have heard of them. And everyone goes, no, I haven't fucking heard of them. What those aren't nonsense about. And then when we find you become popular, we'll have 15 groupies who'll go around and say, well, I was listening to Rare Nerds before they were popular.
Wow.
Not these latecomers who've started listening to them recently.
Recently? I was watching them when they had this twiggy loudmouth bastard and that long-haired goober sitting next to the farmer chap talking about a barbarian in space.
Yes, yeah. Oh, the days of the sleep-deprived episode is probably the best episode we've done because we were all so tired and sleep-deprived.
Yeah.
And I don't remember most of the episode, to be honest, Skazz. After I'd done it, I was like, I feel like I've just gotten through a drunk phase because I really don't remember most of what we did that night.
I ain't got a clue.
Yeah.
I barely even remember starting. I just remember that Space Barbarian was there. And I think the sun came up.
Dad, I got home at 7:30 in the morning. That's what after I dropped bath. It was we'd literally because we'd started because we weren't known for starting on time, and we got there fairly early. We started the first episode because we were recording 2 episodes because it was Christmas. We recorded the first episode at 9. Sorry, about 10:30, 10 o'clock time. We recorded the first episode. That was fine, all good, it's fine. And then we had a chat before we recorded the next one. We chat, and then before we realised it was like 4:30 in the morning. So we better record this next episode. And I've been at work that day, so I was very tired already. You just power through anything, so I don't know what one we're both.
I've never heard of sleep before.
Yeah, Bard was tired as well, and the sleep deprivedness definitely played a part in making Spacebar a big thing.
That was great.
Yeah. And amazingly, the two lead actors are both still alive.
The annoying thing is, Brian still hasn't returned my emails. Knowing my luck, I was too tired to actually send the email. But it's like, mate, come on.
That would be the ultimate. That'd be the ultimate. Brian was been more than up for doing it, but because Skazz was too sleep deprived to send the email, and he thought he did, but he didn't. And that is the true answer to the situation. I mean, if anyone listening now, Space Barbarian, it's an episode we did ages ago. I can't tell you which one it is. I think it's 30-something, but I'm not sure.
Dude, there's a random... I've got a random, like a folder, a directory on a drive, and it's just like, I think it's called like The Birth of Space Barbarian, and there's just these 2 random WAV files in there. I'm like, what the fuck is this doing here? Of all places, just clicked it and I just cry laughing. If there's ever a time when the world is shit, I just put on those episodes and go, Jesus fucking Christ, and we hadn't drank a thing.
Space Barbarian, yeah.
Beautiful times, beautiful times.
Beautiful times. So, right, Skazz, what have you been up to then?
Oh dear. Well, that's loaded. A lot of things.
You can discuss that you're allowed to talk about.
Well, that's everything because you know me.
None of your Walter White stuff. We don't want any of that going on in here.
Well, that was it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call this done. Ram, what have you been up to?
I'm in Better Call Saul a bit, so that ends Tuesday. 5-episode Tuesday. Yeah, 5-episode Tuesday.
Like final or?
Yep.
Oh. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't catch much past season 1. So, or was it season 2 we were talking about, where he's like pretty much chilling out by the pool all the time?
Yeah, season 1 ends on a bit funny. Season 2 is very slow. Season 3 though is when it does start to kick off. Because I think season 3 when Gus turns up.
Oh, there you go.
And then they sort of ramp up the cartel storyline, and it really builds to Empress Way. It's been very good.
I'll have to check it out.
I actually prefer it to Breaking Bad.
Oh wow! Well, we did start saying that in the earlier seasons, didn't we? That Breaking Bad was incredible. It was a gorgeous show.
Oh, it's still a good show.
Really well shot.
Show, yeah.
But fuck me, at a point it really started to drag.
We're going to rehash this, I feel, but season 5 of Breaking Bad, I felt was nowhere near as good as the other 4 seasons. Basically, as soon as Gus dies, they never had anyone to. They sort of it floundered a little bit. I felt.
Was it the bikers or whatever it took over?
Yeah, the neo-Nazis and stuff like that.
Absolute fucking dog shit. I'm sorry.
Matt Damon's stunt double turns up, and it just. I mean, the final couple episodes actually are sort of only ones worth watching out of that series, because that sort of like wraps it all up. But the sort of stuff leading up to it, I just found them like a real step down from. The neo-Nazis felt very. They felt very comical. I don't know why it's a weird thing to say, but it's just like it felt like such a. If they didn't feel like the S tier enemy, it felt like we'd gone from like the sort of top end boss to like sort of ones you should have the earlier seasons.
Yeah, for sure. I get you. Wasn't Tuco the guy at the start?
Yeah, Tuco first.
See, but so this is what I was getting at. Tuco, in my opinion, realistically carried himself better than the fucking bikers.
Yes.
Just in my opinion, I thought he was a much better villain. Admittedly, they were scrubs and he was pretty small time, but
Yeah.
compared to those bikers, he was a much more enjoyable character.
Here's the thing. After the first episode watching Tuco, I was like, fuck, Tuco's is insane. And I knew that character, I knew who he was, I was out for him. If you show me a picture of the bikers, I couldn't tell you who was who.
I ain't got a clue. I haven't got a fucking clue.
Yeah.
Tuco and Gus fucking Fring, I remember all of their shit. All of it! They disappear though, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I remember nothing other than one of the characters, doesn't he get like shot and buried or some shit?
That's Hank gets killed, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's it.
And Gomez gets killed.
I was just like, that was the only thing I remember from the entire fucking season. That's it.
Yeah. I just found the whole. There was something I like the train heist episode. I thought that was quite good.
That's probably the only other thing I remember about it.
But that was because I was harking back to earlier seasons, whereas the rest of it was just like, who the fuck are these people? There's one. I mean, I recognise one character only because I recognise the actor from Stargate Universe. But I could. I know. I said the only one. I know one of the guys looks like Matt Damien. But I couldn't. Was he Todd? Was his name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I couldn't tell the name of the other characters.
The plane crash thing. The build up for that. What was that, season
3, isn't it?
I loved that. The build up to that was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it was very good.
And the weave of that story was just top notch.
And the fact that all the episodes that start with because not every episode starts with like the aftermath of the crash. There's like you get like all the cold opens where like they're picking up like some remains and so forth. Only a few episodes do. The ones that do spell out something like something the plane down over Albuquerque type thing. They sort of let this out, but the titles still tally up what goes on in the episode as well.
Yeah,
they are very clever writers, to be fair, but they sort of let themselves go on the 5th season. Better Call Saul isn't like that. Better Call Saul, they actually keep it going all the way through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's been fabulous. So they basically they wrap up all sort of you meet Gus, they still see the start of the super lab being just built.
So is that going to be the end of it, or does it
continue
continue after?
You're
talking middle.
That's
that season 3, 4.
No, Super Lab sort of goes right through to sort of midway season 6.
6.
And then
fuck
6 seasons.
Okay.
They and then at the end of sort of about 2/3 way through season 6, basically Better Call Saul's like prequel timeline ends, and we time skip to Gene.
Okay.
And the last 4 episodes are following what happens to Gene after Breaking Bad.
Ah.
So
Okay.
they finding out, and it's basically sort of it's turned up a lot of his ends to sort of like finding out what happened to all the various, because he has like one phone conversation basically that he basically sort of rings up to say what's going on to one of his people. He sort of arranged a contact to bring him up and speak to him. They basically give him the lowdown of like, and they tell you all sort of main characters what's happened to him.
Yeah.
Like the ones, it's not so much the ones that hadn't been answered in the previous series. They sort of explain what's gone on with them, just brief, like so and so they've got a deal to basically avoid prosecution, all this sort of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's been very good. And also they that the first time they meet Saul in the first episode, they go to kill him in the desert, and he says something like it wasn't. Did Lalo send you? It wasn't me. It was Ignanto. He says. Those characters, one of them turns up in Better Call Saul, you know it from season 2, but Lalo turns up in Better Call Saul. And the guy who plays him is fantastic. He does such a fantastic. He's such a brilliant character. So season 1 ends properly. Season 2 is a bit of a struggle. I won't lie, but from season 3 onwards, it does start to build up. Better Call Saul's definitely a lot slower paced than Breaking Bad is.
Yeah,
but that's not a bad thing. It's not a series I think you can binge. Really, it's definitely a case if you watch 1 or 2 episodes at a time.
I get that.
And gradually work your way through it, type thing. You have to sort of pace yourself going through it. Oh, King Europe says Better Call Saul's been amazing. It has been amazing. And I'm really looking forward to the finale I'm in the UK, so it's on Tuesday. In America, it comes out on Monday. But
avoid spoilers for that brief
spoilers.
time.
Yeah.
What's
So,
it on now?
Netflix still.
Oh, still Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, Netflix got distribution rights to it in the UK still.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I do recommend catching up on it.
Cool. I'll do that. I didn't expect to rehash that kind of stuff, but yeah, mate, that's got to be done.
Anyway, that was a slight tangent. What have you been up to, Skazz?
Okay, so this is going to be a thin one, really. I got the Steam Deck.
Excellent.
It's beautiful.
That's all I've ever said about the Steam Deck.
It's fantastic. You can see... Okay, so before going into what the Steam Deck is, you can see every other project Valve has worked on up until now has been building to the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
The Steam Pad, Steam OS, Steam Machines. All of it eventually ties into the Steam Deck. I never thought the day would come where I would hold such a brilliantly crafted handheld PC and not have a million things to complain about it. Like, I know that sounds like, wait, it's beautifully crafted, complain about it? Everyone has something to complain about, right? Steam Deck, most people go for, it's Linux-based. It's a Linux PC. It's a fucking full-blown desktop PC in a handheld. Like, it's a console, yes, but it's a PC. But it's Linux and I can't play whatever it is. Doesn't matter, because eventually it will. Like I just... You know how Valve tends to release things and then, like, I don't know, they hype them up, or everyone gets really hyped because it's Valve, and then people get them and like, oh. You know, like, if you got Half-Life 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of the things we were, you know, was a bit worried about. It doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have it. Kind of like when Steam Machines came out, everyone was like, oh yeah, fuck, it's going to be brilliant. And it got super hyped, and then people got them and then installed Windows on them.
Yeah, it's like you've sort of ruined the point. What you've done is bought a PC.
Yeah. It's
well
amazing.
done.
Or like when the Steam Pad came out, and you know I love the Steam Pad. Well, where's the second analog stick? It didn't need one, but I'll tell you, man, if that had that second analog stick, they'd have never had to have discontinued it. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because that was probably the biggest complaint about it. But the Steam Deck is fucking amazing. Holy shit. So, consoleized handheld PC, running a custom AMD APU, running RDNA 2, the latest GPU. APU, GPU, dealio from AMD. The same kind of thing that's in PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles, but running at a significantly lower wattage because it's battery powered. It's running a custom variant of Arch Linux. They're calling it SteamOS 3.0. And it's beautiful. This isn't going to do anyone any good for audio listeners. I'm just going to grab it because it's sat right next to me. I love it. This thing is sexy as fuck. You'd think it's quite big. I don't know the actual dimensions of it, but you'd think that's going to be quite heavy. It's quite hefty, given what's in it. The controls are nice. It's just the right size to fit in your hands comfortably.
Yeah.
Okay. Average gaming...
How does it compare size like the Switch is probably sort of its nearest...
I fucking hate the Switch. So note that I have pretty big hands. I can't use the Switch. In handheld mode, I can't use the Switch.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The Steam Deck is a much... It's bigger, but it's much more comfortable to use. By a mile. it's more comfortable to use. The Switch feels like a toy in comparison to the Steam Deck. Battery life.
Valve are going to be making it so you can use Joy-Cons with the Steam Deck.
I think that you can already use the Switch Pro pads.
Yeah, but you're going to be able to use your Joy-Cons with them.
That would be fucking terrifying because they're shit controls. Right, battery life on it is entirely dependent on whatever game you're playing. Battery life is comparable to the original Switch. So if you remember, like, was it Zelda Breath of the Wild was like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So if you're playing a pretty heavy game, that's the kind of stuff you're going to get. The operating system is clean. Could do with some polish. Games play brilliantly. The library is pretty big. They're saying about 50% of the library is now at least playable on Steam Deck. The screen is the main thing that everyone complains about. It's only, 1280 by 800? So it's just over HD. It's 1610, but it's good enough for what it is. Every single game in handheld mode will run by default at 800p. That's how you're managing to get these things to run on such a low power GPU and processor. Is running at a super low resolution. If you dock the Steam Deck, which, by the way, you don't have to use a Valve dock. Any USB-C dock will do the job. Mostly. It will run games at 720p. By default, doesn't matter if you plug it into a 1080p display, a 1440p display, 4K display, it will run the games at 720p. And you have the option of desktop mode in it. So you can plug in, if you plug in a dock, you can plug in a mouse and keyboard and all sorts, and actually use it as a full bore Linux desktop, video editors, audio editors. At one point, actually, I was tempted to do this entire podcast, stream it, and record it off of the Steam Deck, just to kind of take the piss.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this product and its place and how good it is, just because I am spazzing out something chronic.
I think your enthusiasm for it sells 1,000 words, Skazz.
It's, mate, honestly, I use SteamOS 2, the original run of it, or not the original, but version 2 of it. The one where they released to the public that you can install on your own hardware. I used that. I used Steam pads, and whilst it worked, it was a stretch. This, oh my fucking god! I'm actually playing games, Ram.
What sort of games?
Everything, even stuff I didn't think would run on it. Everything.
I was going to say, because you said when we were preview that you didn't think Control would run on it.
Yes, it runs. Control runs. Guilty Gear Strive, which was a fighting game I didn't think would run on it, runs fine. I played the last part.
I hope you've got your hats right.
Yeah, fucking. Don't get me wrong, it's not fantastic, but it runs. Like, it does run, because to be deck verified, it only has to run at 30 frames a second. So,
yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. Fighting games, they are locked at 60 FPS, because you need them to be at 60 FPS to run. But, I mean, even newer fighting games, Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 15 is brand spanking new out, verified on deck. It works, 60 FPS, no problem. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak runs fine. So was Deus Ex? What's the first one? Not the Deus Ex, the first of the new ones.
Human Revolution.
That one runs. That's great.
To be fair, I'd hope that would run, because that came out in like 2012.
Well, here's the trick. Anything that was made for, I've been playing with it, but anything that came out on like Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. I reckon you could live stream it and play off of the Steam Deck. I've like, I say I reckon it can. I've done it. I was just sat on my sofa. I installed I installed OBS on the Steam Deck and just started live streaming off of it. Just plugged in a pair of earbuds with a microphone on it and just went ham on it. It was fucking fantastic. It's not going to be super, because I don't understand people's complaints. Okay, maybe it's just because I'm old, but there have been people going, it's not sharp, it's low res, it's low frame rate. It's like,
it's fucking PC games in your pocket.
Yeah, that's what I didn't get. The Steam Deck screen should at least be 1080p. Why? Oh my god, why? It's not sharp. Can you read the text? Yes. Well, but it's not sharp.
Mate, you should have grown up playing, consoles on 480 or 480i.
Nailed it. That's what I'm saying. Because I'm older, right? The idea of having anything like the Steam Deck is a fucking dream. But obviously now everyone wants everything to run everything. And because now people actually give a shit about frame rates and resolution and frame times and all that, because you've got all these analytics channels on YouTube doing it, I think they kind of missed the point.
They have missed the point.
And a lot of
Having
people...
said that, the people miss the point, the people who've not actually had one. So every person I know who's had one loves it.
Yeah.
So
oh my god.
Is it the people who simply haven't got one are the ones who are complaining about it?
Well, a few people went, it doesn't have Windows on it, so I can't play all my games. It's like, well, that's kind of the point. The point is to get away from Windows.
Yeah.
And Proton's buggy and it doesn't work perfectly. Not good enough, 0 out of 10. Thumbs down, shit device.
Proton's magic. The fact that I can even do it full start is incredible.
It is. So, you've heard my groove about Linux and Proton and Windows and... Right? An example I give is Max Payne. You cannot play Max Payne on Windows 10 or Windows 11 without patching the ever-loving shit out of it. You have to patch it for sound, you have to patch it for resolutions, you have to patch your proc, unless you're on an Intel. You have to patch so much stuff. On Steam Deck, you just install it. Now, alright, that's not entirely true. Because it's running an AMD CPU, you have to patch one thing. One DLL. Which you can do on the device. And then it works perfectly. There are stacks of games I can't run on Windows 11 that Proton just goes, fuck yeah, let's go. At some point, where Windows starts leaving things behind, games aren't going to work.
Yeah.
Right? But, in theory, Wine and Proton, DXVK and Wine, them together, they're going to have all of the calls needed to play all of your games from now until the end of time.
Yeah.
Because it's just an interpretation layer.
Yeah. It's sort of half interpretation emulation in a weird way.
To a degree. It's magical. There will be a time when Windows users will need something like Proton. I mean, they're already technically out, but some of the visual novels I play, I have to have a completely separate thing to run to play the game. So, I can't believe it. I got the 512 gigabyte model. That's one thing I should mention. There are 3 SKUs of it. Was it 64, 256, and 512 gig?
Yeah.
And it's got space for a micro SD card to run games off of. I straight away, I filled it. I filled the 512. And I put another terabyte in it. And I filled that too. Yeah. I've played with it every day. I play with it docked and handheld. The sound on it's pretty good. It charges pretty quick. The fans are nowhere near as aggressive as people say they are. And I've played some pretty intense stuff on it.
What's your battery life like on
it? For a heavy game, 1.5 to 2 hours.
Again, over the course of a day, on your bus trip to work, your bus trip back, it's probably more than enough, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the great. Now, I like I said, I'm not doing a particularly good job of like rounding this up because I haven't played it enough to give it a full.
Give it a good run across.
I have one complaint with it. One.
Okay.
Just one. It's not Proton. It's not the layout. It's not the controls. It's not the way it handles memory cards or anything like that. It's not the fans. It's not the script. None of that. One thing. Docked mode, which isn't 100% reliable. But that might just be the docks that I'm using because I am using third-party docks because Valve Time exists and they haven't released the official dock yet. But when you plug in an external dock and you're in the gaming mode, because it has gaming mode and desktop mode, gaming mode doesn't allow you to choose the resolution of your television set. And you're going to be like, okay, why does that matter? Well, if you buy a cheap dongle to plug into your telly, they tend to cap out at, say, 1080p, 1440p, and that you'll get your 60 FPS on those. 4K will usually drop down to 30 FPS. If you plug a cheaper dongle into a telly that is 4K, your Steam Deck will just go, yep, output 4K 30 frames a second. There is no way to tell the Steam Deck in its current UI, in gaming mode, to go, my dongle's a bit shit. Can I drop it down to 1440p 60 or 1080 60? You just can't. You can't do it. You just have to change the dongle. And that is the one thing I do not like about it. The resolution output to the television set is directly dictated by the dongle you plug in. Doesn't change what the games are running at. So the game's wrapper will still say you're plugged into an external display, run it at 720p.
Yeah.
But the fact that your monitor is only running at 30 is fucking infuriating. If all you want is a drop-down menu. SteamOS 2 had one. SteamOS 2 had a menu in it for changing sound output and resolution, but no joy on SteamOS 3 yet. It's honestly my only fucking complaint. I've had it lock up a few times. I've had a few bugs, but realistically, it's been pretty solid. It's got a few controller handling bugs, but simple enough to fix. The community's been really nice too. It's fun because you can kind of tell who's a normie, who's like the consumer that bought it to play games, and who's the Linux guy that's been doing this kind of stuff for a while. Because the complaints, the things they like, and that they sway. You know, I put up a video about a controller bug for Monster Hunter Rise. So get this, you play Monster Hunter Rise on the Steam Deck. You know I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise on my Linux PC for a while, right?
You have,
and it works fucking great. Brilliant. Like Proton version 7. Mwah! Fucking solid frame rates. No crashes. Been absolutely brilliant. Steam Deck. Launched the game. Hard locked when I used a certain move. I was like, oh. What the fuck is this about? Close the game. The Steam Deck didn't lock up. The game did. Force close the game using the Steam Deck menu. Load it up again. Monster roars. Game crashes. Okay. Restart the game again. I use a certain move. It's repeatable. Crashes. Fuck. Game doesn't work on Steam Deck. Try patching Proton. Try installing their newer versions of Proton. The Glorious Eggroll custom releases. Proton Experimental. Like, but why is it working on my PC but not on the Steam Deck? Could it be a graphics card driver issue? Because it's AMD on the Steam Deck, it's NVIDIA on my PC. And I was at one point I was like, this is just broken. Then we'll have to wait for them to patch it or the game to be patched. That must have something to do with the Sunbreak update that's just come out, the latest expansion to Monster Hunter. One day an update comes out It's only like a couple of kilobytes, maybe 700 kilobytes, whatever. Nothing fancy, you know. And all of a sudden, I fire up the Steam Deck, and it's working. I get so excited, I instantly jump to conclusions that patch fixed it. Go to make a video about it, start talking about it, go to capture some footage by plugging it into my telly, and all of a sudden it starts freezing again. What the fuck's going on here? Disconnect from the telly, it's freezing again. So 1 minute it was working, then it wasn't. Turns out, for anyone listening, if you're having this issue, it's a controller handling bug. So SteamOS by default, SteamOS 3, if you plug in an external control pad, it doesn't disable the controllers on the face of the Steam Deck. Oh. So Steam Deck becomes controller 1. So in some games, you'll launch and your external control pad doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because trying to use the Steam Deck controls, the sticks and the touchpads and stuff on the Steam Deck. You can go to the controller assignment menu and flip it to say, look, no, make Steam Deck controller 2 and my controller 1. Doesn't do it by default, not on all games. But some games will.
Really, because if you plug a controller in, it's clear you want to use that in preference to the.
Yeah, you'd think so. But I mean, in fairness, you could just be plugging into a telly and using the Steam Deck as a huge controller. I've done that too. Just like literally just get like a USB-C to HDMI cable and it will just let you use the Steam Deck controls. It doesn't disable. Obviously not, because they're still in the menu, but it doesn't actually stop their functionality. It's like you can still poke at the touch screen whilst the screen's off kind of thing. Yeah. Even if you've got it mirrored on another display. Yeah, it doesn't change the control order. So some games you'll launch and the controls don't work. Reassign your controls, change the order, your controller will work. In games like Monster Hunter, certain moves happen or certain animations play, and it's almost like a control check happens, and it goes, hang on. Whoa, player 1's not doing anything. Crash. If you change the order, the game unfreezes. Just change the control pad order, and it starts working again. If you unplug the Steam Deck from the telly and your second controller or whatever, it's still looking for the other control pad, the second controller you plugged in. So instead of it looking for the Steam Deck control pad, it's now looking for the second one. So if you plug player 2 controller back in, when you're in portable mode, if the Steam Deck freezes, it will unfreeze because it finds the second controller again. Simple fix, just reboot your Steam Deck. If you haven't got a control pad at hand, just reboot the Steam Deck. And that'll fix it. But yeah, one chap is adamant I'm wrong and is telling me that it's my control pad's fault. I was like, you do understand my video is not a complaint. It's showing people how to fix it. I'm just explaining why it's happened. And so, well, have you tried an official Xbox pad? Yes. Maybe that's going to have a different result. No, it still breaks. I was like, it breaks with Xbox pad, third-party pad, PlayStation 5 pad. Fuck, mate, it breaks with Valve's own Steam pad. So, it's not the pad, it's the operating system. Hopefully they patch it out soon. Not a big deal. Yeah. It's just nice because you can tell the guys who bought it just to fuck around with it and play games versus the people who actually bought it to dick around with it, who knew what they were getting themselves into, who knew what Proton was going to be like, who knew what Linux gaming was like. But it's nice to see the two worlds collide, everyone trying to be helpful, and then you have a bunch of people throwing their toys out of the pram because, I don't know, Valorant doesn't work, or Easy Anti-Cheat hasn't been patched. Like, some games work, and then all of a sudden they get updated and break. But for the most part, it's been a solid experience, man. It's a great little device, and I could use the Steam Deck over my laptop or my PC. As weird as that sounds, I've got a fucking beast of a PC, and I'm sat there on the Steam Deck. It's mental. You know, Ryzen 7 processor, RTX 3080, fucking 165 hertz monitor, and I choose to pick up the Steam Deck to play my games and play them at like 800p. It's brilliant. It's a great little device. I recommend it to absolutely anyone. And if you want a cheap little desktop PC, it's great. You can browse the web on it, you know, edit video, edit photos.
Yeah, because I suppose you can, either connect in. Does it have like USB ports? You can plug stuff into it.
It's got a single, annoyingly, USB-C port on it. So you have to dongle it up. But yeah, you can just plug in like a USB hub and just hook
Does
up.
it have like any sort of like Bluetooth or anything on it?
It does have Bluetooth, yeah. Yep, it has Bluetooth. So you can Bluetooth mouse and keyboard onto it if you want to. It's a full-blown desktop PC in handheld form. You can do anything on it. Anything you can do on a Linux PC, you can do on the Steam Deck. And you can game on it. Like, you can game on Linux. That's not a thing that people need to fucking... Oh, you can't game on... Yes, you fucking can. Wine and Proton, those teams, Valve, have done a great job with that software. That interpretation layer is fucking phenomenal, and it's getting better by the day. Great little handheld. Brand spanking new games coming out that run just fine on it. Probably was a little bit wobbly to start with, but it was great. You know, it wasn't as responsive as playing it on my main rig at 1440p or 4K, super high fucking frame rates, but it was playable. It was perfectly playable.
Again, you're not taking your PC with you on the bus or at the train station or in the cafe.
Cloud saves.
Yeah.
Think about that. Cloud saves. You play your game on your PC, shut it down, your save gets synced up to Steam's cloud. Turn on your Steam Deck, save gets downloaded as you walk out the house. You continue your game where you left off. Absolutely brilliant. What was the other one? There was just one more bit and my brain has just gone... Fuck.
My brain's just gone, fuck.
That was it. It's such an exciting device. It is the dream device. It emulates things brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly. Let's just say you can edit video on it. You could install Spotify and stuff like that on it. Listen to tunes on it. Browse the web on it. Type documents on it. The on-screen keyboard isn't fucking terrible. The instructions in SteamOS 3 are fantastic. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, we've got some comments about the Steam Deck. So King Europe, I was super skeptical of the Steam Deck because how quickly Valve dropped Steam machines and Steam controller. The deck really seems like something special they're going all on. I mean, Steam machines, they technically still exist. You can just install SteamOS and you've got a Steam machine there.
SteamOS 2?
Yeah, well, Valve aren't just pushing them anymore so much, are they?
Mm-mm. Although, there is a rumour they might be making a consoleized Steam Deck. Like, take away the screen, take away the battery, and have the same gut into a little box that you can plug into your telly. And they might re-release the Steam Pad. Like, obviously with the two sticks, the two pads. Just make like a fat kind of Joy-Con grip. It's like, cut the screen out and just stick the two control, or the two sides of the control and the Steam Deck together.
Yeah. That'd
be fucking great. I'd buy one in a heartbeat.
O says, I hope they continue to develop SteamOS. Pop-OS is great and all, but for the money in talent Valve, they could make something amazing with SteamOS they really wanted to. So,
SteamOS 3.0 is fucking great. It does have a few faults. It is being updated regularly. If you run Intel or AMD graphics, so if you're running like a desktop machine with NVIDIA GPU on it, you're shit out of luck on this one, I'm afraid. But there is actually there's a version of SteamOS 3 already out there made by the Linux community that has had a few more kind of generic drivers stuck into it. So if, as I say, you own a machine with an Intel GPU or an AMD GPU in it, you can actually build yourself a desktop Steam machine now with the new operating system, with all the new features. Yeah, you can do that already. You can have a modern day Steam machine right now, as long as you're not using NVIDIA.
I have tiny hands, but even I struggle with the Switch. It's a no-got nightmare unless you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Probably they thought the time I was. 1280x800 is perfect. Limitations considering low res on a small screen is fine and means great frame rates.
Yep. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, you also have to factor in battery life. If they were to put in a 1080p display and you were trying to drive that, Jesus Christ, you just say, oh yeah, mate, turn that on, the battery ran out.
I got an M1 MacBook Air, first Apple device I bought, and it made me want to make my main PC still my game PC. I was excited that if I had the Steam Deck, it'd have a 1 year lead time pre-order to be able to buy. He's asked, how is emulation on it?
Brilliant.
Brilliant, cool.
Absolutely, I mean, absolutely fantastic. You're playing, all the way up to game. I'm gonna say, because I haven't gone hardcore on it, I would say PlayStation 2, GameCube, PSP, all that kind of stuff, absolutely fucking brilliant. You could probably do some of the higher end PS2 stuff, probably some GameCube stuff. One of my mates has said you can squeeze PlayStation 3 on it. So,
Do you get more oomph from the deck if it's in docket?
no, nope.
Okay.
It's exactly this. It's not overclocking or anything in dock mode. From what I can tell, it is literally just running the same clocks throughout. The only difference you'll get is that the container running the game is running at 720p when hooked up to the screen. So in theory, you'll get a fraction better performance docked, but that's only because of the drop in resolution.
Maybe it's because I'm old. Don't say that. You look at my age. Fair enough. To finally have a platform PC game that isn't Windows, bliss.
Yeah. What they're doing is great. I think that the two main issues you're going to have with the deck, well, three actually, if I had to be honest. Epic Games, like anti-cheats like Denuvo, and, DRM like Denuvo, and anti-cheats like Vanguard and stuff like that. Those are going to be the things that are going to be an ass for the Steam Deck. Epic, pull your fucking fingers out of your ass. Is Steam trying to kind of keep a hold of their monopoly. Says the company buying games that are on multiple platforms, making them Epic Store exclusives, and then saying to the devs, yeah, you don't have to bother with Linux support because we don't do that. And then it just goes straight in the fucking bin. Thank you, you assholes.
He said the Max Payne example, another podcast. Oh, how is running games on SD card?
Great, that's all I do.
Yeah. He said, I hear it's just as good with SD, but I struggle to believe that.
No, it's fucking surprisingly good, actually.
Cool. And USB-C docks in general suck.
Yes. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Make sure you buy something that'll do, if you're going to plug into a 4K TV, make sure you buy something that will do 4K 60. I've got a few different docks here. The one I actually picked up a little one just for the Steam Deck. It's got a couple of, just like 2 USB ports on it, power in and an HDMI out. But it only does 4K 30. Hooked it into my TV. It's like, oh yeah, mate, let's do 4K 30. And I'm like, no, fuck, dude. Just like bump it down to 1080 60. I'll let the TV scaler do the work. But no, that's not an option in the Steam Deck, which is infuriating. Another dock I have will do 4K 60, but fuck, it gets hot and it's expensive. Anything else?
That's all the comments and questions we have from Kingu.
I'm sorry I haven't done a particularly good job of kind of bigging it up, but it is a fantastic device. I'm actually playing games again. I'm not just playing when I'm streaming, although admittedly I haven't streamed for shit over the last couple of weeks, but I'm just sat there going, yep, should we play XYZ game? Saying to my son, should we play some King of Fighters? What are we going to do, Dad? Are we going to bust out the PlayStation 5 version? Are we going to hook up the PC? Nah, mate, we've got the fucking Steam Deck. Let's just hook up some control pads and job done. We're playing King of Fighters. We're playing Tekken. All that stuff is just running fine. Side note, Evo, the fighting game tournament, they were actually running Steam Decks as their main hardware for some of the events.
Wow.
So that's how much faith people have in this stuff and how well it works. Because the fighting game community are picky as fuck.
Yep.
If your frame times are slightly out, they will table flip in a heartbeat. And it was running good. I don't know if it was either the new Melty Blood or the new Phantom, well, it's not new, but the remake of the Phantom Breaker fighting game. They were running that on Steam Deck. Great. Oh, one other feature that I haven't used that I really, really, really thought I would, but that's mainly because I've been playing online multiplayer games. The suspend feature. It's got like a sleep mode on it, and we all know that sleep mode on Linux is usually shit. The idea being that if you've ever used like a Nintendo DS or like a Nintendo Switch or whatever, you can press the power button and it will go to sleep and kind of like save state the game as it is, suspend the game, and then you can just press the button and your game comes back up exactly where you left it, kind of thing. Steam Deck has that kind of thing built into it too, so you'll be able to have like a sleep and wake feature for PC gaming. I thought I'd use that a lot. I haven't had much of a chance to test it yet. I don't know if they have to do tweaks to that OS-wise, or if that's a game-by-game thing, but I'm hoping it works really well, because in theory, that's a feature I'm going to use a lot in future.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, I went on for about 500
no,
years.
You're
there.
absolutely fine. You're absolutely fine. Talking of DMM, have you seen the latest, what they're doing to Minecraft? Unless they've bought back on it now at long last.
What's happening?
So, basically, there's a update push out to Minecraft, anti-cheat software update, but the way it works, if you get banned, you get banned not from just official servers but all private servers as well.
Wow!
Which means potentially you get banned from your own server.
Oh my god! Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How are they? Wow. Oh yeah. So I suppose Minecraft on PC now requires a Windows 10 account, doesn't it? Unless you're using Java. So.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wow, like account ban, and that's tied to your PC. Fucking hell, that's tied to your Windows license and everything, or it can be.
Yeah, I presume that's what they're doing.
Wow.
But yeah, because obviously everybody's up in arms, like, because you get banned for like swearing, that sort of thing.
But yeah, like anyone could flag you for anything.
And I think you can even get flagged on private servers. So potentially, if someone doesn't like you, you on your own little private server, so they can flag you on your own private server.
Jesus.
And you get banned from everything, including your own stuff.
Microsoft, bin that off, please.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's
the VR community's had something like that too, but keep going, sorry.
I was gonna say, I don't want to have a quick go see if they've walked back on it, because it's the sort of thing they might walk back on. It's about a week and a half ago I saw that.
You say that, but the VR chat guys recently implemented easy anti-cheat, and they didn't walk it back at all. They doubled down. The community went batshit loco, and they were like, fuck off, you're going to act like petulant kids. We're just going to lock it down even more.
Yeah, I've got nothing last I've got on here. The last update I've got is from June. Yeah, Bland plays. Band plays. Where is it? Things. Yeah, basically, I'm trying to find the exact wording. You've been banned from Minecraft. For the duration of your ban, you'll be unable to play on your world, certain platforms, play on servers, join realms, host or join multiplayer games, or use the marketplace you're paying for realm. You'll need to cancel subscription through the store where it was purchased.
Jesus Christ. Oh, wow. You better be careful when you're playing Minecraft.
Yeah, you better. Violence that may include on bans include hate speech, sexual content, and soliciting improper contact, real-life threats, exposing the personal information of others, posting this to malicious software, impersonating staff, cheating exploits. This includes anything that would negatively affect another person's gameplay experience. So, modern Minecraft servers?
Do they allow modded Minecraft servers though for Bedrock, the Windows 10 version?
From what I understand of this is you can get banned even if you're playing on a private server. From what I understand, so you've got a private server and you've set some mod on it that I don't know.
But I mean, I don't think you do mod Bedrock Minecraft. That's Java base. Java is where all the mods are at. Well, like Bucket and stuff. But then again, it's been a long time since.
To be honest, I'm out of the loop on Minecraft. To be honest, Skazz.
Sure.
General commercial spanning, but I'm sure there must be a possibility if you've got your own server, because you can have a private. If you can have private servers, in theory, you should be able to modify them. In which case, potentially, you can have your own modified server, and people get banned from having it.
Yeah.
So no, they haven't walked back on that.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
As I say, VR Chat had something like that similar as well. What was it? End of last month, they implemented easy anti-cheat, and modded clients have never been allowed in VR Chat ever, but because they've never really banned anyone for having a modded client, everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, it's kind of like a silent under the table deal, you know, they don't really care.
It doesn't work like that. It just means that just because they've not got around to doing with anything about it doesn't mean that they're not going to start enforcing it. It's a bit like when like the police suddenly set up down like a speed trap down the road that everybody speeds on, and everybody goes, well, everybody does 40 down there, not 30. Now the police set up speed trap, they're issuing up fines. Well, it's still a 30.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because everybody ignores it doesn't mean it's now become a 40.
It's still terms of, you know, the terms of service still apply. The speed limit still applies. You know, the law still applies. It's still
the little button that you check to say I agree to this, and of course you read your terms of services thoroughly because we always read our EULAs and terms of service from page to page currently and thoroughly know everything that we're agreeing to in there, full stop.
Americans, you better be careful because you've got a thing called the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. And that's all based on the EULA that you've agreed to.
Yeah. So you read that and you tick it and then you sign it, you have something life with. So you can't. Unfortunately, it's a bit hard to complain about it. You can complain because if you go away for so long, but it's technically against the rules.
Now, in the case of VR chat, there is only one instance that I would say was defendable. Okay, so some of these mods were used for like performance tweaks and you know, universal searching, stopping people from spamming and crashing stuff. Like, you know, we've had crashes and stuff in other games for billions of years, right? VR is no different. So, you know, there were some mods to get rid of that. Couldn't give a flying fuck, to be honest with you. But there was one group of folks who relied on mods to be able to use VR chat because the functionality wasn't built into it. Like hard of hearing, you know, colorblind, some users like that. People who needed accessibility mods. If you needed accessibility mods in VR chat, I am so fucking sorry. I hope, you know, now that your mods do not work, I hope if you want to come back to VR chat, the devs are cool enough to pull their fingers out of their asses and find a way to implement the features you need to use that environment. Because to some people, VR chat was basically their social life. Sort it the fuck out. Banning mods and custom clients, though, couldn't give a flying fuck. Personally.
Yeah.
Couldn't give a shit.
Yeah. So, this makes me think, I suppose perhaps I've not really much done VR chat. What is exactly the point of the anti-cheat?
Well, it was.
How do you cheat in VR chat?
It's not. So this is one of the other things that a lot of people have said. What's the point in an anti-cheat in a social game? It's just to lock down the client. That's it. If I had to be honest, because people talk about VR chat like it's the Wild West of VR, it is kind of. It's like the old school days of the internet. However, the internet has always been run by corporate on some level. VR is no different. The backbone of VR is corporate. You know, HTC, Meta, you know, all the big companies. They're the ones that are giving you the headsets and pumping cash into these smaller companies. VR chat needed money for investors. They needed money from investors. You know, to keep on developing the game, to keep these servers fucking running, because they ain't cheap to run. When you got thousands and thousands of users on this cunting thing, that ain't cheap. They needed investors. And you keep on having these articles come out like, oh, mate, VR chat's full of pedophiles and stuff. No one is going to fucking want to invest in that. So they did something. They put in easy anti-cheat. Of course, that doesn't get rid of, you know, people who are going after kids and stuff like that. But they put in easy anti-cheat to stop some of the things like hacking the client and all. They tried to clean up the client at least. It made it look like they were doing something. Investors were happy. The VR community, though, not so much.
Not so happy. Unfortunately, it's the case of any service, website, anything that starts off as small and niche, but gets like a dedicated following. As it gets bigger and grows and so forth, inevitably, as you say, at some point, someone's got to pay to keep the lights on.
Or if not, it'll collapse under its own weight.
Exactly, and it could survive on on a free hosting for a small bandwidth at first with 100 users. It was fine, or someone in their mate's downstairs basement hosting. But at some point, once it gets popular, it's got to be moved to proper paid servers, which costs a lot of money, and it has to keep running. They say otherwise you just close your doors. And once it gets to that sort of stage, you are, as you say, you're basically exactly what you just said. You need people to pay you money, and they're not going to touch it. And that's the case of every popular, website service. When people say, "Oh, they're selling out," well, they are really, because they've got to a stage where if they don't, they crash.
Yep. The thing is, a lot of people are now moving to the Wild West client, which is Chill Out VR, and it's basically VR chat. It is VR chat. The UI is a bit different, but you can use near enough the exact same avies. You need to have the bones tweaked with their SDK and stuff, but it's VR chat. Worlds run in there. Your avies work in there, again with a few little tweaks. It's fucking VR chat. The difference is the servers are shit, and there's no community there. They cap out at maybe 500 users in a day. So we didn't go to VR chat for the mods. Did the mods make the experience any better? I couldn't comment because I never used them. I was always on a vanilla client for 2.5, 3 years. I've been on a vanilla client, right?
Yeah.
For the people who use the mods, sure, I guess they made them better because that's why everyone was kicking off. But you went to VR chat to talk to your fucking mates.
Yeah.
If your mates ain't on Chill Out, you ain't going there.
No.
If there ain't no community there, what's the point? You can fuck VR chat, I'm going over there. Why? To sit in an empty room?
Well, I suppose it depends how many. I mean, I can imagine if there's a group of you, about 4 or 5 of you, might say, "Shall we go find something else?" Because I've done it when I've been with people. We've moved on from a VoIP software because it was changed, the updates. So we've decided we moved en masse to another VoIP software. When we moved from I think we moved from what were we using? We moved from I can't remember if we moved from Skype to TeamSpeak or TeamSpeak to Skype. We moved one way or the other.
Yeah.
And we all just moved en masse. And if there's a group of you, that's fine. That works. Because you size a group, you're going to do it, and you more move on.
Yeah.
Whereas, I say, if you're just a casual person, just goes into rooms and talks to random people, that's not so easy because there's no sort of community. So I could see a thing, but it's one of the things that could snowball though.
Mm-hmm.
As more people do, if more people do get the little groups jump ship, if someone says, okay, we have this. A Discord community who has a VR chat room where all their Discord members go and say, right, because of updates, we're now moving to Chill VR. We'll set it on there. We won't update this room anymore. You can use it if you want, but moving on to this one. I think you may end up with a snowball effect. But then, of course, what happens there? Eventually, Chillsoft then start buying new servers, start something, and then
they're adamant they won't. That's what they're saying now, but they will.
It's so easy to say that we've only got a few hundred users.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. They're crumbling right now.
Yeah,
they can't do it even now.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's very nice to have that when you're small and starting out. To have that, hey, because no one starts out. I mean, I imagine the VR chat people didn't really intend to go down this route.
I think initially they were backed by funding from HTC. I mean, I think that's how they got off the ground. But I mean, yeah, I think they were expecting, they'd put in their VR chat plus subscription service so you could have bigger friends list, more avies, cute little badge or whatever. It's only a cheap little subscription. I think they were hoping that would be enough to keep them afloat. Now, I guess because of all the heat, because VR chat is VR. I'm sorry, VR gaming is shit. Most people I know got into VR for VR chat. They got into VR for social VR. When all the normies came in and started ruining it, fuck man, investors were scared. Kind of like when YouTube had that issue with the suicide virus, was it, or something like that? and they had
Also?
the advertisers started pulling away like hardcore.
Yeah.
Because that guy posted up the video of the body in the forest. These things, you need money to keep the lights on. The servers are going to cost money. The upkeep is going to cost money. You can't just flick a fucking switch and hope it stays there. A team of 3 can't go forever without food in their bellies, fucking electricity to keep the fucking servers running. It's too much.
Let's be honest, this was their... I say if they're not a huge team, this was by far the easiest solution they could implement at a small scale.
Yeah.
You know, if you are a small set of devs, there's only so many of you, and I don't know if these guys work on this full time, or if they might be, or they have their other jobs as well. I'm not sure how it works. A lot of these little bits of software, even popular ones, are only done part time with people. And in that situation, they've got to say, well, we've got to do something that we can do. We've got to solve this issue This is the simplest and easiest pay, at least from our point of view, the easiest way we can do it. And I'm sure the community would want us to do something different, but we're not Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, we can't have 10,000 moderators working for us, checking stuff out. There's us. Big Mike in the corner can't verify every reported complaint. So what do you do? And this is the easiest route solution, and I can't say I blame them.
Yeah.
You know, I can see why people are upset, but I can't really blame them for it.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, at the end of the day, as I say, I was a vanilla user, so it didn't affect me at all. Like, at all. The only negative I had was, as a Linux user, the Easy Anti-Cheat implementation they used didn't work in VR mode. It worked in desktop mode, but not in VR mode. Not very well. So some rooms I could go into in desktop didn't work in VR mode anymore. But other than that, it was fine. And again, for me, the only thing I could find that would make me angry was that if there was someone who was hard of hearing or deaf and they needed like speech to text mods, they were the only people I could see that had a reason to get angry.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it was a perfectly functional game. Yeah, but my computer can't run it. Then get a better computer. VR, they never said VR was going to be cheap or easy to run.
No.
I know that's not ideal. I know that's not for everyone, but I mean,
that's what it is, I'm afraid.
I've got a 3080. VR chat brings it to its knees. I expect it. When it's user-generated content, and you know, there's fucking shaders through the fucking just everything all to the max. I expect it to fucking crumble.
Nothing optimized, nothing properly set up. Yeah, all that's about. Shall we do levelers of depth texture loading? Nah, just with the highest res texture that we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
It runs fine on my local machine. Well, I'm not surprised it does. You know, when you're running the software, it probably does run absolutely fine. Until you have to launch over synchronized multiplayer clients.
See, people got really angry about it, but I didn't see. Again, other than that one little group, I didn't get it. Plus, VR chat is used a lot by Oculus Quest users. They can't use custom clients. There's nothing they can do about crashes. They can't install mods. They were happy enough. Can't go to Chill Out VR because I know a lot of people who only use Quest. So, yeah. They did what they had to do. It wasn't in line with what the community wanted. Did the update actually do half of what they said it would? No. But they've cleaned up the client and they're now working to add in features that people want. Should they have done that before they put in the Easy Anti-Cheat? Yeah, probably. But
probably.
You know, they're working on it.
It depends where they were on there. Because you could see the meetings like, right, we need funding. We could the nice way to do this would be we implement all the quality of life stuff that people need and stuff. Or, I mean, they might even thought that far ahead. They might not even realise. They might even thought to themselves that, hey, we need to stop these modded clients out there. How do we do it? Or we'll just install we'll update the software. That's probably the conversation went. They probably didn't think about people who had, as you say, accessibility mods.
Yeah.
They probably didn't think about them because they probably didn't register on their radar. And if it did, they probably said, well, we either kick those people out and get stuff going. We can then start pushing out to get money in to keep us alive, or we spend 6 months developing this, but then we might be gone in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I suspect, perhaps I'm being pessimistic, but I suspect it's more likely to be the former. They just never even thought about it.
Sure. I agree.
And I can understand them not thinking about it, because sad to say, it's not your first. I wouldn't have thought about it.
No.
That would have crossed my mind. So.
Agreed. Totally. I'm with you on that one. But
Yeah.
I just think too many people were looking for a villain, shouting, screaming, jumping up and down. And they said, "Oh yeah, you've alienated a third of the users or more. All these people are using mods." And I was like, "Really? I don't know anyone that's using mods." So if it's that widespread, then sure. Well, I do. I know 2 users, 2 of my entire friend circle that use mods in VR chat. Everyone else, vanilla client. No one gives a shit.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. When presumably they have the data.
Mm-hmm.
They can look and see how many people are using, say, who are modding it or using vanilla. They could probably tell.
Yep.
So they presumably had the data, and perhaps they said, well, they say a third of users. Well, we can tell you. We can show you the numbers. Actually, it's only like 2% of users.
Yep.
But they happen to be because the thing is, the sort of people who go to the hassle of modding something are invested.
Yeah.
And if you're invested, you're more likely to shout about it.
Yeah. There was a lot of bandwagoning going on too.
Yeah.
Like hardcore. Oh, fuck you guys, look what I did. And then like a week later, everyone was back on VR chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been up to, Ram?
Well, so I've had a bit of a cyberpunk itch, but I don't want to play cyberpunk again.
Yeah.
So I play a cyberpunk game, but not the cyberpunk game. So I decided to go back to a game I started several years ago, but never got. I sort of bounced off. I last played January 2017 because I found my save files are still on there. So I've been playing Deus Ex: Mankind Divided,
Blimey,
which is the
mate.
sequel to Deus Ex: Human Revolution. Now I'm a great big Deus Ex fan. I've not counting Mankind Divided, I have played all the Deus Ex games at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. Some more. I think I've played the original Deus Ex about 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
It's probably my most replayed game I've ever got. But I sort of bounced off Mankind Divided, and so I thought I'll go back to it because I had sort of feeling I wanted to play it again. I had that sort of itch to want to play it again and get back into that world. So I thought I'd go back into it, which I have done. So I'm playing it again, and so the basics of it is it's set. So in Human Revolution, is set in the futuristic year of 2027. So this is all happening in 5 years' time. Just be warned. The world has basically changed with the fact people they discovered how to make artificial limbs, what they call augmentations, very easy to do, to the point where anyone can have one easy. Whereas even now, modern, there's a lot of problems with like tissue rejection and so forth.
Yeah, it's invasive. It's got to be invasive. Yeah,
they've got around that. They've found a way you can graft on, and basically you can take this drug called neuropozyne, and you'll be safe from tissue rejection. And they've got a sort of fantastic interface, which means they work just like your old limbs, so you don't even realise you've got an augmented limb really anymore. So people sort of started to choose to actually be augmented. They choose to have their arm cut off and replaced by a mechanical one because they can do more, or they have like upgrade their eyes so they can like take photos of their eyes and all this sort of stuff.
Sure.
And it became, all the promotional videos are really good. They put out, but they're all very much based. You can tell they're very much based on sort of Apple-esque, like it's a lifestyle to go down this route and do it and so forth. But there were some problems. Neuropozyne was the drug you had to take it for the rest of your life, and it's an expensive drug. And all was going well in 2017. People were doing this. There was a bit of sort of concern and so forth, as some people like feeling that there's like sort of there was a bit of device on happen with the augmented and non-augmented because it's expensive to get augmented. I mean, we're not talking mega expensive. We're talking like perhaps on middle class level.
Yeah.
Unless you get like black market mods or cheapo mods from other people, but in general, you're it's only sort of people who've got some degree of money who are getting augmented. Like I said, you've got gangsters and stuff who are like using cheap ones they've got, and they've sort of like they're really basic and dirty and so forth and what have you. And all was going well, and this virus will happen between the people who have been augmented and people who haven't been, and there were some tensions forming. So at the end of Home Revolution, the father of sort of augmentation, Hugh Darrow, who's the guy who basically, he's the one who basically invented the stuff that made augmentation easier for everybody. He's the one who developed the drug and the interface that allows augmentation to be so easy. And he realizes actually that he feels that augmentation is actually more of a curse. Because the ironic thing is, he's got a dodgy leg, but he's one of the few people who can't be augmented.
Okay.
There's a small group of people who can't take augmentation, and he's one of them. Ironically, he invents it, but he can't take it. So he decides that enough is enough, and he's basically arranged it so that he's managed to, for a complicated reason, he's basically allowed it so he's got ability to control it, but he's got augs, and he basically hits a switch, and if you have an augment, all of a sudden it basically destroys you mad. The brain interface, because it interfaces with your brain, the augments, they all interface with your brain. And for it's implied is basically it makes your biggest fear come to life. So perhaps you'll just see rats everywhere jumping at you and so forth, and you just panic. And people just start panicking and running around and just attacking, killing each other and so forth. They called it the incident, the Aug incident is what it was called. And I mean, the first mission in Mankind Divided, it was a hotel that got abandoned after the incident because a lot of the workforce was augmented, which means they had like augments that had like industrial tools on them, and they go mad and turn the industrial tools on each other and the non-augmented people. So you can imagine how pretty that was.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah. So after the incident, and you manage to shut it down and escape, you can understand people are slightly wary about augmented people.
Sure.
And basically, augmented people have gone from being sort of the people who had the money and so forth to basically being second-class citizens. And in most parts of the world, and the game is set in Prague, and it's implied that Prague is reflective of a lot of parts of the world in that if you're augmented, you are treated as suspicious. You have to go like in a separate on the subway. You have to go into a different car. There's like a car just for augmented people to go into. Mm-hmm. You have to you're kept separate. So basically, it's riffing off sort of segregation.
Sure.
But instead of race, it's if you're augmented or not. And this is where the sort of game sort of sets itself in this world and so forth. And you will, as you walk around all the cities and stuff, occasionally a policeman will come up to you and they'll insist they see your ID. Because you're Adam Jensen, you are clearly augmented.
Yeah.
You've got two big male arms. They know that they know what they are, and you'll get hassled by the police. And if you do like go in the wrong cab, you'll get told off and so forth. And eventually, you work for Interpol, and you have got like a really high level clearance card. So sometimes the police will look at your card and it's like, oh shit, you're quite highly ranked. I'm still going to treat you like dirt, but I'm going to be careful about you because I can't really do anything to you because you've got the higher ups are going to protect you. But most people haven't got that option. And what's actually now starting to happen is they're now starting to ship people off who are augmented to like sort of like little, what they call it, Golem City in the game, and there's other places like it similar. And basically you're being shoved to your own little place, like keep over there, we don't want you in our city at all, you're just left over there. All the augments live there, they don't really get anything, they're just left to themselves. And fully on segregated, and basically they're pushing you out. They're getting rid of augmented people because no one really wants them around anymore. Not everybody, you get people who are not too worried about it and understand that you had no control over what happened. But a lot of people, quite rightly, if half the population suddenly will go mad and they start attacking and murdering people in brutal ways, you might not be too keen on having them around afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
So, and you're basically sort of investigating what's happened. Now, I've restarted. I think I can't quite place my finger on this game, but it just doesn't feel as good as Human Revolution.
Right.
But I can't explain why. It's like I don't like the atmosphere. I don't like the sort of the world. Doesn't feel that interesting to me. I don't know why, because it's on paper, it ticks all the boxes. It seems very similar. It plays very similar. the cast of characters I think you're with, because in Human Revolution, the people you were with were, pro augmentation. You worked with David Saraf, who was the guy in charge of it. You had like your partner; they were all sort of pro you. Whereas these guys, Interpol, are all slightly suspicious of you. One guy absolutely basically hates you, but it's implied that he's an arsehole to everybody. Because at one point you say to him something like, "You're an arsehole," and he goes, "Yeah, ask both my ex-wives; they'll agree with you."
Sure.
So he just hates everybody, but he really doesn't like you. Because you're augmented, and a lot of the other characters you walk across, some of them are nice to you, but a lot of them are like they're either at best suspicious of you, or downright hate you. There's a few who like you, but generally they don't like you. They hate you at all. So I say the game starts where you're on an Interpol mission into going through this sort of old hotel mall type place, and you're going to be interrupting or spying on a arms deal. And Interpol have got a undercover operative there, and your basic idea is he's gonna sort of like do the meetup, and they're gonna watch. And then once the meetup happen, they're gonna storm it and capture everybody. Because he's meeting up with a former private military company coordinate sort of quartermaster. He's gonna meet up with him and basically do the deal. They're gonna raid it. And your job is basically to secure it so that all like the sort of support forces of this group who are doing the deal can't get to him. Your job is to jam a lift. That's basically your job, and that's all the first sort of little mission. And that starts to go for okay, but all of a sudden the whole place gets attacked by these augmented people wearing these gold masks, and they basically attack and assault you. You manage to like shut the helicopter down and stop them getting away, but it's that sort of initial plot sort of set the plot going is this initial attack. Once you got that, you get back to Prague, and that's when the sort of world then goes sort of open world. You're dropped off in Prague. There shortly after you arrive back in Prague, there's an incident where a train gets bombed, and by sort of pro-org people or something who sort of there's like a terrorist group who are blamed for the bombing. But then after that, you're in Prague proper, and you've got this open world. You can walk around and wander and explore, do the sort of side missions in and so forth. So like I say, it doesn't. I think the open world doesn't feel so real in a weird way. It doesn't feel like such a real place. And this is going to sound a weird thing. I think the main reason it doesn't feel real is that it's set during daytime.
Right.
And I know it's a weird thing to say, but in all the Deus Ex games, I think all the Deus Ex games, they all take place at night. Constantly. Every level takes place at night. I'm pretty sure that's true. Across the board. I know Deus Ex 1, every level takes place at night. There's no daytime. This might be one like sort of early hours of the morning, but they are all generally nighttime. And it just doesn't. I just can't. I really can't place what there's an X factor that's missing that I can't place my finger on. I don't know why. But I think I don't feel like some of the sort of side missions because it doesn't have lots of side missions. There's probably like sort of half a dozen in Prague itself.
I could probably say why I wouldn't like it too much.
Go on.
Just because it's a thing that's beaten to death on a daily basis even now. That in the first of the two new games, you were doing something that was a bit fucking out there for the right reasons. And in some cases, you could still be a good guy about it. Now, you could be a good guy doing the right thing, and yet you are still treated like shit for it. There doesn't really seem to be a huge amount of reward for it.
I think in the first game does a lot better job of exploring the pros and cons of augmentation.
Mm-hmm.
It does a lot better job. Like, okay, there are people because you meet characters who are. There's a character I can't remember what's his name. He's a doctor. I can't remember, but anyway, he leads basically sort of a peaceful group who are anti-augmentation. They want augmentation banned. And he's got links to this other terrorist group called Purity First, which is basically sort of the military version. And you have a full-on debate. You meet him about 3 or 4 times in the game, and you basically have a full-on debate with him about the pros and benefits of augmentation. And he basically debates back, and it explores that this is a society-changing technology, And you're exploring how that affects society, people's views on it, and so forth, and what's good and what's bad about it. And at the point in Human Revolution, it's the sort of bit was about like, well, once again, the ultra rich can afford to have all the posh augments, and there are some augments that basically allow you to influence people, like what they call Casey mods, and you can actually influence people. And if you've got hold of those, you've got a hell of an advantage over everybody else. And one of your missions is like in the Human Revolution is like, oh, I've got this chip because I need to get it, because if I don't have it, I'm basically on the back foot to everybody.
Yeah.
I need a chip to be basically better at doing maths and so forth to get ahead. And it's exploring that, how once again this sort of society is being pushed apart and so forth by this disruptive technology. And it's very careful to walk the line between, is it good or bad, and are you pro anti-aug?
Exactly, they've hard-lined it in the next game.
Yeah, exactly. The debate's over in the second game. Augmentation is clearly a bad thing. In that, if the fact that it was able to be hacked so easily, admittedly by the guy who invented it.
Oh yeah, for sure. If anyone's going to be able to do it, it's going to be server side.
But the guy who hacked it wasn't actually. What they did was they basically managed to cause glitches in the software, which made people alter playing up, and convince everybody to get. And they said, "Oh, we're doing a recall on all the interface chips. Come to your local link and have the chip replaced for free."
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody was going there and getting their chip. It's a bit like sort of what the conspiracy theorists say about the COVID vaccine. Now you're getting this for free because it's getting the chips put into you. In this case, it's true. They're getting you to go into the limb clinic, so you get this free chip, and this is the chip that basically will send you mad. Because it's quite a good bit, because you have a choice whether you get the upgrade or not. You can go into the clinic and get the upgrade if you want to, or you cannot. And later on, you'll meet one of the other characters, and she's assumed you've done it, and so she'll pull the control at you and basically tell you you're going to go mad. And when you realize you haven't done it, if you haven't done it, she's like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to do that. I was expecting you to not follow my rules. And there's actually a boss fight where if you've got the upgraded chip, all your ogs get basically disrupted and don't work properly. But if you didn't, they all work fine.
Sure.
Neat little touches like that. That's a pretty big change to how the game plays, all for one decision.
Yeah.
But I say the sort of debate's over in the second one. I think that's what makes it. They can't explore. There's not the sort of whole, is it always a good bad thing? They can't really explore anymore because they've answered it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it does explain a lot by doing the augmenting. It does explain, because in Deus Ex, original Deus Ex is set further into the future.
Yeah.
Where they're using nano augmentation. Little robots doing the work, so you can't tell somebody's mechanically augmented anymore. You can't see. And your character, JC Denton, is the first of the nano-augmented people out there. And there's a lot of tension because the agents you're working with who are mechanically augmented, there's tension because you're like the next generation. You basically make them look like steam engines.
Yeah.
You're like a modern electric EV and they're a steam engine. So that's tension. But there's a lot of people who seem like sort of, although once you work, there's a lot of people who have got mechanical augmentation seem to be in like dead-end jobs and so forth. And this kind of explains it, because why in Revolution everybody was quite high up sort of people. This explains why the Order's shitty little people living in places they can't work very easily and so forth. It sort of answers the question. But I think that's basically what I'm saying. And that is, and you basically nailed on the head. It's the debate's over, so there's less they can explore in this game, which impacts the whole environment, and the fact that some people are just arseholes to you. I'm guessing I did to try and create this idea that sort of press thing, but it just annoys. It gets annoying after a while.
As I say,
I know that's a silly thing to say, because there are people out there who experience that every day.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the problem. We are trying to move away from that. We don't need to be beaten over the head by something that is already happening in our world. It was more interesting when we were pushing things further in a different way. Now it has literally just been basically, we're boiling it down to racism. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I do think it's fine to address sort of thing in games. It's fine to address all problems in games, sort of get you from the point of view of you, because if you're not supposed to normally experience it in day-to-day life, let's get it from your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fine to do, but it just doesn't to me. It just doesn't feel. It doesn't really work. And also, I feel a lot of side missions you play don't feel as. They don't feel as sort of in depth as they were. Because there were side missions in the first one. They were some were fairly complicated, some weren't, but they felt like an interesting side mission. They also felt fairly grounded in the world. But one of the side missions in this game, they do give a sort of a hodgepodge reason behind it. Is you come across this cult, and the guy there has like some sort of like power over everybody in there, and you try and confront him, and when you do, he's sort of is able to stop you talking, saying bad things about him, and you sort of like get sort of affected by his powers. It's like really feels mysterious, and it's explained away with technology afterwards. When you sort of like investigate more, you can find out how he's doing it and so forth. But it feels very out of place for a Deus Ex game.
Yeah.
It feels like too much. It feels very mystical for a Deus Ex game. It just doesn't feel. I think it does feel a bit like they painted themselves into a corner a bit.
Yeah.
And didn't quite know. It also doesn't help that it feels that Square Enix haven't put so much love into this game.
Okay.
And the better way to explain it is actually more not talking about the sort of storyline in the game itself. Is I had an issue where I was playing it. It was like fine, but then it kept. I sort of was running it, and first night I played it was fine. Next night, after literally about 30 seconds, it crashed.
Oh.
And the error it was giving me was telling me that my graphics card didn't have enough VRAM. I was like, what? And it said, oh, you need at least a gig. I was like, I've got 8 gigs. I should be able to play it. And I thought it was working fine. I was literally walking around Prague yesterday, and it was fine. So I googled it, and this was a problem back in 2016 when the game was released. And it's not been. And do you know what the issue is?
Go on.
DirectX 12. There's an option to switch on DirectX 12, and I thought, oh, I'll give DirectX 12.
Yeah, never do that. Never do that.
And that basically caused all the problems. Switched it off, and it was fine.
Near enough everything I've ran, DX12 has been horse shit. Stuttering, crashes, absolutely bollocks, because then you're leaving it to the people developing the game to dictate how it's going to utilize the shit on the graphics card, whereas before that was largely controlled by, like, I'm oversimplifying here, but like they'd have a driver package. The driver would be the thing saying, like, this is what we've got, this is how it works.
Yeah.
Go. Anytime you leave a developer that has no idea how half of that shit actually works to decide how that shit's going to work, not a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, you guys haven't patched. This is some 2016. You guys never patched it. You've never fixed this stuff, or even. I mean, these made an error that made sense. And I was all like, they just felt that it felt like, because Human Revolution, I think, did better than Square Enix expected it to do, because it did prove very popular, and it did sort of.
They remastered the.
They have, yes.
Now, which do you play?
Director's Cut. I've played both, because you had the original, you don't have Director's Cut. I've not played the other remaster.
Do you prefer the Director's Cut or?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
The reason, because Director's Cut's got, so they did the first one. There's a bit in the first one where you go to sleep in like this sort of hole of the ship, and then you wake up at your next destination. And they added on this DLC, which was, or actually it wasn't DLC, you buy it separately, but it basically explained what happened in that gap. And in Director's Cut version, they put that in to the game.
So it just plays continuously rather than you having to go out and go, okay, cool.
But they were smart enough, because obviously in the other version, when you played it separately, they basically come up with an excuse for why your augments got reset to 0, because you start with they don't know what augments you got in the main game, so they set all the augments to 0 for you. So you basically you said you've had like an error and so forth. And I was like, I wonder how they're going to solve this, the Director's Cut version, because what happens to like all the upgrades and stuff? Well, they actually were smart about it, and everything you upgrade, you get back All your you get all your practice points back that you've spent. You get given them all after the director's cut. After you sort of you sort of like get to the next location, they all come back to you. So you just can I can spend them all again, and you can almost respec, as it were.
Sure.
But you can get yourself back to where you were, which does mean you actually get slightly over augmented at that point because you've now got practice points from the director's cut version and so forth. But
yeah,
they thought about it. They thought about how we're going to make this work with the game, and there was some care and love put into it to make sure it worked fine.
Yeah,
which they didn't do which they don't feel they've done with this game. So this game's got additional DLC missions, but they're standalone.
Oh.
They don't fit into the game at all. You play them separately. You play them on the main menu as a separate thing.
Not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of when stuff does that.
Yeah, I mean, some games get away with it if you're playing like a different character, so you're exploring part of the world. Fair enough.
Final Fantasy 15 did it quite well, but that is one of the last ones I remember actually doing it, and it was okay because you had a different episode for each of the main characters who at one point or another would kind of fuck off and do their own thing.
Yeah.
Hence
and
the
episode. If you do remove them, so we're going to set something that's like set a year before the events of the main game. Again, fair enough. You're sort of filling in the gaps. It's fair enough. But when it's this is sort of happened at some point alongside or near to the main game, it's you could sort of probably worked in a bit better, and it feels a bit of a cash grab. So I think Human Revolution did a lot better than they expected it to do, and they then sort of oh shit, let's make a sequel, and hadn't really thought about it. And so they didn't have the sequel in mind, because again, there's 3 endings to Human Revolution, and it's not clear which one you did. I mean, admittedly, the endings come down. Human Revolution has got a problem with the ending in that your ending, like so many games are terrible at endings in general.
Yeah.
And any game where there's multiple choices, in Human Revolution, which ending you get, you literally walk in a room. There's 3 buttons, and you pick your ending, basically. That's
Sure.
how Human Revolution does it, and that is a bit shit. You basically decide you basically have a choice of what story to. There's this media company that sort of can control the truth, and basically they say the sort of AI in charge of it says, look, you can help dictate how the future changes. I've listed re-edited different versions of what's going to happen, of what's going to be reported, which will then guide sort of the way we're going to go. And you're picking which truth to tell.
Sure.
But it's irrelevant because none of that plays. They or at least what I've played so far, that's very much glossed over in this one. It's not clear what you selected or what you did. Whatever happens is Panchaea gets one thing that does happen is Panchaea gets destroyed, which is the 4th ending of Deus Ex Human Revolution, where you can decide I'm just going to destroy the installation. What I suppose is not the worst, which I suppose does sort of actually now I think about now I've remembered that bit, actually does tie in because it basically is the worst ending, but it does actually tie in and explain why none of the others work. So I actually just answered my own question there by thinking about it. So, having said that though, I am more. Whereas last time I had to sort of build the engine up to play it, I'm now more keen to play it. I want to down and actually play it. The only reason I haven't is simply that. With the heat, it's been so hot in this office. I haven't been able to. It's been too hot to play it.
I did see you launch it whilst I was dicking around with the Steam Deck. I was like, oh, there we go.
I've probably put another sort of 10 hours into it so far.
Yeah.
Here and there, but it's just been too hot to play it the last 2 nights.
Sure.
But I actually want to finish this time. I've got some. Whereas last time I played, it was a bit. I think because I built myself up to it so much, I feel I sort of was really revved up for it because I love the series.
Yeah, you really overhyped it. You saw Deus Ex in the title, and you had a bit of a nerdgasm. And
yes, basically, yeah. Squee. And yeah, so I was really hyped up for it, and then it let me down, and then I sort of and that sort of bounced. But now, because I know what I'm going into, I actually want to play it. I want to sit down and actually finish. I want to finish it this time and actually get through it, finish it, and see what's going on, and sort it all, and basically find out the story. I want to find out I want to know what happens now. I want to know what goes on. So I'm not up to the bit. I'm not up to the sort of staying level where I got to last time, but I'm sort of like getting that way.
Sure.
Because the game is also a lot smaller scale. So the first game was set in Seattle. Was it Seattle you're set in? I think it was Seattle. Detroit. No, Detroit, sorry. It's in Detroit. It was set in Detroit and Shanghai primarily, with the sort of two locations you went back and forth to. And they're very different locations, very different atmospheres, because, well, they're completely different parts of the world. And also you went to sort of like mission places in between there and so forth. But primarily you were in Detroit or you're in Shanghai. Your two sort of hub areas. And this one is all set in the same place. The hub area is also, so it feels more confined and more smaller.
Yeah.
It feels like, I mean, and actually, I looked at the completion times, which are people playing. Human Revolution people completing about 22 hours. This is about 15, so it's definitely smaller. And yeah, so you basically go back to the hub well about 3 times by the looks of it. So it's a bit smaller scale. But yeah, I do actually want to finish it this time. I now sort of know it more. I want to finish it. Updates to the actual gameplay. There isn't anything major. They've made the cover system a lot better. In Human Revolution, basically your cover was basically you could go up and you can move left and right on the cover, and you press all space to go around a corner. This you can actually like aim where you want to go and push the button, and he'll like keep crouched and go there, so you can sort of advance under fire type thing. So it's a little bit, the cover system's a lot more involved, and you can vault over things. It's a lot better. They improved that, and also augment wise, you've got more augments again, and there's a story where you basically fairly on find you've got additional augmentations you weren't expecting to have.
Yeah.
And you can basically choose to activate them, but doing so will overload like your system, so you have to disable other augment trees that you can't use anymore.
Sure.
And there's a way early on that you can get around it, but you have to find a device and so forth. And it's got some of the neat things. It's still got like sort of social battles where you have like you have like a debate with somebody and have to sort of like convince them by listening to them. And if you've got the Casey mod, it's easy because it tells you what sort of response they like to hear, and you can respond to it, or you can if you don't have that, you still have the same conversation, but you have to work off your own back. So yeah, it's definitely not as good as the last one, but I want to finish it now, and I'm going to try and get it finished, and we'll report back once I've finished it.
Cool.
Right, that's anything else from you, Skazz?
That's everything, man. I wanted to actually play, when you mentioned Deus Ex, I installed both of them on the Steam Deck. Because I've wanted to play the new ones. Just as a note, I believe actually Deus Ex, the original one, is Steam Deck verified. So
that's interesting.
But yeah, I think I might have a go at them myself, but on the deck. So I'll have to see.
Give it a go.
Because I've never actually finished I never finished the new ones. I've played them or tried to play them fucking millions of times, but I never managed to get through them. They look fun. They look really nice. Graphically, they're nice.
Yeah.
Story seemed interesting. Mechanics seemed pretty solid. I never managed to get through them. But then again, they did come out at a time when I was barely playing any games. So
yeah. Do you have the director's cut version?
I have both.
Director's cut version is what I would play.
Okay.
Of course, the other thing they do with director's cut version, which I didn't mention actually, is one of the biggest complaints people had about, and this shows you what I mean by love and care. One of the biggest complaints people had about the alpha version or vanilla version of Human Revolution was the boss battles. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 boss battles in the game, and I think 3 of them basically you have to fight. You have to fight them.
Sure. No sneak and stealth
There's no sneaky way to get around them. So if you've got, like how I played, a stealth-focused character, that was fairly tricky. Not impossible. She sort of knew the trick. It wasn't that hard. But it was trickier than you had no sort of options. It feels like, well, I'm a stealthy character. Why I'm being forced to do this? And in original Deus Ex, you could use your stealth to your abilities and so forth. So, Director's Cut they redid all the boss battles.
Yep.
So if you were stealth folks, you could sneak around and do stuff and deal with them in a stealthy way.
You had
they
options.
redid them all. They redid them all. Now that to me again is love and care. They actually went to the hassle of rebuilding and redesigning the levels to give you those options. I mean, the cutscenes don't change because the cutscenes. So like the first boss Barrett, you can get round by taking him out stealthily and sneakily and shooting with stun guns and what have you. But whatever happens, the cutscene's the same. That hasn't changed. However, at least you can be smart about it if you want to. So I like that. I would say I always tell people to play, if you're going to play it, if you've got director's cut, play director's cut version.
Cool.
And I can hear a fly near my microphone, so I'm sorry, Skazz.
That's all good. There's been a wash machine on in the background here, and I desperately want to go through and turn it off.
I know, because that's what that noise was. I thought I could hear something. I said something like a jet taking off every now and
Mate, it's
again.
been doing my head in for the last fucking billion years, and the dog's whining too because he wants to go out.
Bless him.
God damn it.
Bless him. Oh, well, let's wrap this up then. So, for anyone watching on the Pacific Graham,
Skazz.
we hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us again in a fortnight's time on the 27th of August, 2022. And you can join, and we'll be playing we'll be on episode 199. And that means the penultimate episode to episode 200. So we're nearly there.
Scared, actually.
Yeah. Episode 200 episodes of Rand Nerds with an average runtime of 2 hours means you have 400 hours of Rand Nerds you could be listening to.
Fucking hell. Run.
Continuously. So continuously, it'll take you over 2 weeks to get through them all.
Could you imagine that they probably use that to torture people?
I hope not, because they are. Where's our money?
Oh yeah, fair point.
I expect if the Americans are using this to torture terrorists, I want my royalties.
Oh, they're probably just creating more terrorists. The idea that this podcast still exists.
Well, yeah, it's what the FBI used on the Trump supporters to try and find out the real truth, wasn't it? These new numbers. Anyway, so you can also join us on our games night, which will be this Tuesday, the 16th, I think. 14th, yeah, 16th. At 8:30 GMT +1. Oh, the podcast is at 9:30 GMT +1. You can find us you can find me on twitch.tv/SuffolkGram.
And twitch.tv/Skazzius, SK4ZZI0US.
So, very much for watching, everybody, and we will see you in a fortnight.
Bye, guys.
Bye.